Just as Stanley Druckenmiller, and I'm not comparing myself to Stanley Druckenmiller, came out this week and said that he made a mistake in selling NVIDIA, I want to come out and share that I made a mistake in buying ASML when I did. I bought it several months ago, and I went all in. I bought 100 shares of ASML at $933. That works out to be $93,300 worth of ASML. And today it's at $722. So I've taken a 22% loss, which amounts to $21,131. How did I make such a mistake? I did not factor in the fact that the United States government was going to influence the Dutch government to tell ASML they could not sell their most advanced machines, which make semiconductors, to China. And as a result, some 22% of ASML's future business basically went away. Then we had today's announcement that Samsung, a Korean company who is building a fabrication plant out in Arizona, has postponed taking delivery on some of ASML's most advanced wafer-making semiconductor machines, which go for about $2 billion a piece. Who are the other buyers? Well, there aren't many, and it comes down to Taiwan Semiconductor and Intel, and that's about it. Now, the Samsung thing, you need to understand, Taiwan Semiconductor makes the GPUs and the CPUs, and Samsung makes the memory chips. Now, the memory chip business has not been keeping up with the GPU business, but it's believed that as this whole semiconductor industry does gain strength, and we got word or indication that it is gaining more strength from Taiwan Semiconductor earlier this week, those orders for the big boxes that ASML makes will probably increase. And I'll give you some projections on what I think their prices will go. But the reality is they have decreased on their projected earnings, and I have then decreased my projected prices on my cheat sheet for 2024, 25, and 26. And let me give you some overview on that. What I basically do is I do my research, I listen to the earnings calls, I look at Wall Street's estimates, and I determine what does ASML say their earnings are going to be in 2025, 26, 27, and 28. Then what I do is multiply those projected earnings towards against their PE ratio. Now, their current PE ratio is about 34. Their 5-year historical PE ratio is 40, which would give me a larger number. The semiconductor sector, 5-year average PE ratio is 40. So my projections at 34 are less than what the 5-year average for both ASML and the sector are. So with that in mind, in a current price of $722, if I multiply their 2025 earnings times 34, I come up with a price of $910.68. And so if what the market reflects is future earnings, I say the value, the fair value of ASML on December 31st, or let's call it January 1st of 2025, is $910.64. Now, is it realistic? We're in the latter half of October at $722 on an ASML. Is it realistic that it will go up $200 or roughly 20% in the next, what would that be, November, December, in the next 2.5 months? Probably not. But that's not what I'm projecting. I'm projecting what I believe the fair value is, and I think it's $910. Then I take the 2026 earnings per share, and I multiply that times 34, and that gives me a projected price or value on ASML on January of 2026 of $1,129.14. If I do the same thing for 2027, January 1st of 2027, the stock will be worth $1,347.59. Now, I have more confidence in that number, the January 1st, 2027, than I do in the $910.68 for January the 1st, 2025. So that's how I analyze stocks. That's how I determine what do I think these stocks will be worth in the future. And again, I go back to my understanding that the whole supply chain of semiconductors, whether they show up in your refrigerator or in a fighter jet or in a submarine or in a data center somewhere in the world, the whole ecosystem starts with a Dutch company by the name of ASML. So, might not be happy with my current $21,131 loss on paper, but I am confident that this is a company I want to own. Do I want to own 100 shares of it at $1,347? Probably not. So, because I think there are some other companies in this space that will grow faster than ASML will at some time in the future. And again, I want to go back to the conversation I had yesterday that you need to follow the money. And I believe some of the money will flow to ASML. But I also recognize that when a company sees a growth opportunity, that is to say, where if they can make an investment in this, it will produce exponential profits in the future, thus justifying their expense. And I would ask you, from your followings of the stock market, who has spent more money in the last 2 years for generating funds in the future? Who has spent more on research and development than any other companies in the world? And I would suggest you look at some names like Amazon, Google, and Microsoft. We know they and Meta have been the big buyers of Jensen's GPUs and also are the big order placers for the next generations of NVIDIA's semiconductors, GPUs. And they are also, they just announced this last week, they are making major investments, millions and billions of dollars, into nuclear energy so that they can have the electricity that they need in their data centers to run NVIDIA's GPUs and Micron's memory chips. They are making this investment. So if I know they are making that investment, I know that they believe that the payoff is going to be astronomical. Now, what is that payoff? We've talked about it before. It's AI. It's artificial intelligence, and it's not so much putting it in the hands of Procter & Gamble or the government. It's putting it in the hands of Kerry and you, because there are so many more of Kerry and yous than there are of the military, of Procter & Gamble, of John Deere, of any major manufacturing corporation. So if they can get 1999 out of you and I and multiply that times billions, they're going to make more there than they are off of the Procter & Gambles and the John Deeres and whoever else buys AI. That's just it. And if you don't believe that's true, look at a company like, look at them now. Who are they making their money off of now? It's off of you and I. Google makes their money off of you coming to search and looking at their ads? Or are you coming to this YouTube channel and dealing with the pop-up ad that they put up? That's how they make money, off of you and I. And if we aren't buying what they've got, they go out of business. And they believe, whether they're right or wrong is your decision, they believe their future doesn't rely, it depends on them selling you and I AI. And again, I come back to that. Where does AI start? Semiconductors? Well, yeah, but where do semiconductors start? With NVIDIA? No. NVIDIA designs them. They send the design to Taiwan Semiconductor and hopefully soon to Intel, so it's here in the United States. But they send their drawing, their diagram, their architecture, and they say, make me a semiconductor, which they make on, which Taiwan makes on wafers. Who makes the machine that makes the wafer? ASML. Anybody else? No. Nikon's trying to get it. Is it Nikon? Yeah, I think so. Trying to get into it. Or is it Canon? But no one else right now makes them. And these machines cost $2 billion. There aren't a lot of buyers, but there's only one supplier. So that's my take on ASML. That's my take on the current situation. And I hope you pick up on it. I hope you recognize that much as if you would have bought Apple, Google, Amazon, and Microsoft in 2004, and you would have put $1,500 into each one of them each year for the next 20 years, you'd have over $4 million right now. It's just numbers on an Excel spreadsheet. And it's going to happen again. Little different mix of companies, but it's going to happen again. And it's going to be more than 4 million because the AI revolution is bigger than the digital revolution. Think about that. How many people in the world, what percentage of the people in the world have access to the internet? I think if I remember right, it's 70%. The profits off of AI are going to be even bigger because the internet, they're going to deliver it through the internet, and the internet's already constructed. So they don't have that expense. This is going to be big. You got to make a decision whether you're going to get on the bus or not. Talk to you again next week.